So December 16th today, the Saturday, just hard to believe. I'm not sure if the year's been going by as fast for you as it has for us, but just amazing. Christmas is just around the corner. So two-part video, and we're going to start off with the practical part of what you should be looking for if you're looking at your bees this time of the year. And then I'm going to wax philosophical about the importance of investing in yourself to run a successful business, successful life, successful relationship, what have you. So this time of the year, if you're, we're obviously gearing up to send our bees down to California here in the next week and a half, 2 weeks, first week of January. So we're on a bit of a different schedule than obviously if you have a handful of hives that you're wintering here in the Pacific Northwest. But one principle that does remain is that if you get a day like this where it's sunny and it's I think it's like high 40s right now, or maybe even close to 50. There's no reason why you can't go and crack your hive open. On the Especially if you're wintering in doubles, and you crack the lid and look down into it, you really don't want to see bees, because if you do see bees start off, they pack all the honey, late summer, fall, pack all the honey above them, and so the cluster gets pushed further and further down. So if you're seeing the bees this early in the winter at the top of your hive, that means that they're probably low on stores and low on feed. So you might actually have to start doing some emergency feeding with fondant or white sugar, crystal sugar, just by itself. Don't feed syrup. Whatever you do, do not feed syrup, just because they don't have the weather or the ability to evaporate that extra moisture, and that just creates a whole bunch of other issues. So if you do need to emergency feed fondant or white sugar, you can put a newspaper down on top of the frames, like in a case like this. If you need to do emergency feeding, you probably want to put like a shallow super, or if you have a rim spacer, and put a piece of newspaper down with white sugar, and then obviously a break somewhere in the newspaper for the bees to come up and access it. Anyways, the other thing you can do is just tip the hive, just like here, go over to it, tip it, see what the weight is. That's still solid as a rock, so we know that one's okay. And a bee flew out, so that's always a good sign too. But that's really the only thing. I mean, this is kind of a pensive year for us, because I checked 22 colonies. I just cracked the two supers and just took a peek, see what the cluster size was. I did that to 22 of them a couple of days ago, and only found one dead out. I mean, there was a couple that were weaker, but only one dead out. I was actually really shocked. I would say that that's not a normal number as far as how good it is. So that certainly raised my spirits a bit, as far as just the pensiveness of wondering what your bees are doing. Now, in a couple of weeks, when we get them down to California, then we're going to get a really solid idea on what they're doing and how they look. So yeah, I think that's really about it. I actually just purchased a FLIR gun from Amazon too. It was on sale. It was regularly like $600. They had it on sale for like $349. They may still have it there. I can't remember the brand, but anyway, looking forward to that, because we're, obviously, freight is expensive, and it's gotten even more expensive with the price of diesel. So we certainly want to maximize what we are sending down. We don't want to send a bunch of dead outs or a bunch of weak colonies that we're just going to have to, mess around with and maybe make something from. And so we're going to use that. I'll do a little video on that. Okay, so second, part two on investing. And I wanted to say, I should have said this in the beginning of the video, is that I really, really, really appreciated all of the positive feedback on that video. I think it was a couple of videos ago, on just the importance of your mindset and the importance of seeing failure as a part of the learning process, not as an identity. Even though I will certainly be the first to say that, especially if you've made big mistakes, it's very easy to start feeling that it's an identity, but nobody profits from that, especially yourself. If you keep beating yourself up over mistakes you've made, um, it's it's on one hand what we try and do when we're beating ourselves up like that. It's almost a way of us trying to inoculate ourselves from others criticizing us because you feel like you beat yourself up and call yourself a whatever you want to call. When other people see our failings or see our shortcomings, there's kind of a bit of a self-assuredness that we've already called ourselves out for the worst. But it's psychologically, it really has absolutely no benefit. The best way when making, obviously this is easier said than done, when making mistakes, making discoveries, making or having failures, whatever term you want to call it, is to take what do you call it? Take inventory. Yeah, take. It's not the word I was looking for, but take inventory. What can you learn from it, and what can you do to be better? That's not what I was going to talk about. What I was going to mention real quickly is the importance of investing in yourself and investing in quality ongoing education. And I'm not going to belabor the point, but maybe a couple of stories that'll make sense of the point I'm trying to make here. Is my wife and I went on this relationship seminar, if you will, and it was a week long, and it was about $15,000. And the price is important because there were several people who asked us about it, and asked us how we liked it and asked us how much it cost. And I was blown away at how many couples said, well, gee, I don't have the money to do that. Or, if I had the money, I'd go on a relationship seminar. And it was funny because the thought came to my mind that I know several people, friends of mine, that are going through divorces or have recently gone through divorces that cost them two, three, four, five times that in legal fees and in settlements and what have you. I'm sure a lot of you watching this have been through that process or know somebody who's been through that process. And so the question isn't always, about having the money to do it right here and right now, but rather what's going to be the long-term or even the short-term effect if you don't invest that money. Here's another interesting takeaway is the people who don't have money to spend in and I'm just using this as a reference point, to spend, $10,000, $15,000 to attend a relationship seminar. Isn't it interesting that when they're having to find that money to finalize a divorce or get lawyers, you can find it? And that leads into a core principle, that a gentleman by the name of Tony Robbins talks about is that when something's a must, it's amazing how resourceful we can be in meeting it. And I'm sure, you at some point in your life can reference where you needed to do something or you needed to come up with a certain amount of money. Like it was an absolute must. And somehow, some way, you made it happen, even if it was going to your least favorite father, mother-in-law, mother, father, uncle, aunt, whatever else, to make it happen, friend that you thought was a jerk. You made it happen. And so we all have reference points like that. And anyways, to summarize this, is that so many people get the idea of wanting to start a business. And this is obviously a loaded subject. There's a lot to unpack, but this is the one point I want to make. I see so many people, like say here in beekeeping, we'll break it down to beekeeping. I can't tell you how many people I've seen want to become commercial beekeepers, and they find a way to finance a $60,000, $80,000 truck for the business. But if I talk to them about going to a really high quality course on finances and reading financial statements for $5,000 or $8,000, they just throw a fit and will, throw out the typical excuse of, well, it must be nice, I just don't have that kind of money. Or here's the thing is that investing in yourself, Warren Buffett said that the best investment he ever made was in himself because no one can take that away. But here's the rub, and I'll finish with this, is that we have two core human fears, all of us, if we're human. And that is, are we enough? And will we be loved? There have been studies done on this of where people are way more likely to consistently give their little chihuahua or their pet goat or dog or horse or whatever, way, way, way more likely and probable to consistently give their pets or loved ones medications or vitamins or whatever, health stuff they need. Way more likely to do that than to actually do that for themselves if they're in the same situation of needing that those vitamins or medication or whatever else. And the reason for that is we're inherently uncomfortable with calling out our value. And if you notice, and you can tell, I mean, the people who, stand up on their little soapbox and talk about, I love myself and I'm, you realize that most of the time when you're watching something, you can pick it up intuitively, is that they're doubtful just like anyone else. They're just trying to overcompensate. And so the whole point for us is to come to a balanced realization of our strengths and our weaknesses and our value that we bring. And I know this is so kind of seems so esoteric and whatever, but it's important. It's important for bees or anything else you're doing in life. But we need to come to a point of where we realize that in order for us to serve others better, in business, that would be our customers and also our staff, any employees you have. That's your family. That's people that you have stewardship over, and you owe them. You owe them to create a incredible and excellent work environment for them to grow and develop. But it's all about what can I invest in myself so that I can give more, I can contribute more, and I can do it with more excellence. And the financial reward in that is way, way easier to find than if you're in this scarcity mindset of just being driven by fear and being afraid of investing in one of the most important parts of life, which is you, investing in you, and then obviously investing in the relationships that mean the most to you, whether that's time or seminars or whatever else. But anyway, so hopefully that I don't want to belabor the point, but that was just something that I've been thinking about and hopefully is valuable to you. And hopefully I communicated it clearly enough for you to get value from it. I am going to go now up to the house and have some coffee and some homemade, not homemade cheese. It's made from a local creamery here, Tunaworth. Tunaworth? Anyways, we have them at our retail store. They're incredible. And I feel like some cheese. I'll catch you later.